Wake up, Washington Commanders Nation. It is the first of the month. It is now March, and it's the second day of on field drills at the NFL Scouting Combine. The quarterbacks are currently speaking to the media at this current juncture, but Rumorville is the loudest during Combine week. Combine is theoretically NFL spring break, and it's when all the chatty patties come out. You know, when we see all these rumors circulating on the timeline about this team likes this guy, these guys like this guy, yada, 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 it's because NFL teams are very comfortable in the combine setting and they just start bumping their gums to anybody who has a question for them. Well, a reliable source, a podcast I champion, the NFL Stock Exchange podcast, hosted by Connor Rogers of NBC Sports and Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus. The NFL Stock Exchange pod is probably the best draft podcast there is. It's entertaining, it's detailed, it's nuanced, it's contextual, and the way they evaluate players is something I'd recommend to anyone. I was listening to their pod from last night where they were getting into the Chicago and Washington aspect of the draft, and they said some very interesting things. But the gist of it is, before we get into detail, is that Washington wants Caleb Williams, and they're going to make Chicago have to tell them no before moving on and pivoting to drafting a guy at 2. See, Washington is currently doing their due diligence. Every guy you see here in this combine picture, Washington has interviewed them. And present in that interview is not just the GM, the head coach, and the assistant GM, Lance Newmark, Dan Quinn, and Adam Peters. Our new owner, Josh Harris, has been sitting in on the interviews. Not a red flag. The guy just spent $6 billion on an NFL franchise, coming over from the NBA, the NFL, and the Premier League in soccer. He wants to see how the sausage is made in the NFL. Non-starter. This is not some meddling Dan Snyder shit, but this is interesting. And the fact that we got the owner in the room on the interviews, he wants to know who he's cutting the checks to, who's going to be the CEO, the face of his franchise going forward. But Connor and Trevor think that there is no chance Washington or Chicago trades past 2 in the draft. And they said the only teams I could see Washington or Chicago dealing with in the draft are each other. They said 0% chance Washington moves back and 0% chance Chicago moves past pick number 2 if they were to move the top pick, which gets us back to the conversation. Washington circling around Caleb Williams again, the lightning rod number 1 player in the 2024 NFL draft. And if you don't believe me, they said they were asking around because throughout the entire college season and the start of the draft process, everybody's saying Jaden can challenge Caleb for the top spot. Maybe Drake May is the co-QB1. They said per yesterday in Indianapolis, there is a general 100% consensus. Everybody there feels like Caleb is the top guy, period. It's Caleb versus the field. It's Caleb at number 1. You stack the rest of the guys however you see fit, but that is the general consensus number 1 guy amongst league officials, media, everybody you see walking around Indy thinks Caleb Williams is the guy. And before we go any deeper into that, I want to look at this picture real quick because this picture is everybody took their combine photo, and you can see all the different approaches to the combine from these 6 guys, starting with the top guy. Let's talk about Caleb Williams. Caleb is giving, I've been in the lab. I've been in the motherfucking lab, and I'm here on business. I'm not here to play games, but he has a Kodak ear-to-ear smile. That is the smile of a nigga that's made $12 million as a collegiate quarterback over the last couple years at USC. No lineup, no shape up. The beard is sloppy. He came looking like Will Smith in Hancock to the combine, which tells me he is 100% locked in, because when a brother is in between haircuts, he's on a mission. He's on a journey. He's not to be trifled with. Bro, when I'm in between haircuts, don't play games with me. I'm not here for the play, bro. I'm not even presentable right now. I'm here for business. And according to league officials, he's just there to be interviewed. He's just there to interview with teams. He will not be participating on the on-field activity, nor will he be doing the medical aspect of the combine. He will only be sharing his medicals with teams that personally interview him. And everybody's going to be like, oh my God, how dare him try to mess up the process? No prospect has ever turned down the medical aspect of the combine. But he's submitting his medicals to only the teams he meets with. And according to Robert Schmitz, this is an idea that mirrors an old NBA prospect steering strategy. Currently, the NBA, it limits medical access based on draft prospect projection. So this may be as simple as Caleb, a younger player, not wanting all 32 teams to have access to when it's really irrelevant for like 25, 26 of the teams in the league. Honestly, probably around 29 or 30 of the teams in the league. Younger players want player movement. This kind of action coming does not surprise me, but from the presumed number one overall pick, it's definitely not something traditional. If that bothers you, I get it. But if I'm the Bears or the Commanders and he submits his medicals to me, then I really could give a fuck about what teams he does not send his medicals to. Caleb is a disruptor, and Caleb is doing things his own way because we've never seen a prospect like Caleb Williams. Now that the NIL is a real thing, we've never seen a legal superstar millionaire quarterback enter the draft before. I mean, made his own millions. We're not talking nepotism child, silver spoon quarterback. We're talking a guy that's already made north of $10 million himself off of the back of his name and likeness and playing collegiate football. He is in a situation that we've never seen any guys in. His situation is different than John Elway's and Eli Manning's situation when they came into the league. I know Eli had the ironclad lore of being a Manning on his side, so people were going to get over it quick when he took the draft process in his own hands. But Caleb's in a situation like we've never seen. And before we keep going, let's look at the picture. Jaden Daniels looks like he's put on a little bit of weight. He looked like he added some girth to him. His neck looked like a real football player's neck. He had a swan neck before. He been putting some pounds on. He looks healthy. He looks happy to be there. JJ McCarthy looks like a trust fund child. Drake May looks like Brad Johnson with a log of Copenhagen wintergreen long cut dip in his jaw. And Bo Nix and Michael Penix just look like the grandfathers of the draft process. But I don't know why I find this picture hilarious. I feel like I could do a 10-minute deep dive on this picture, but let's stay on topic on this video. Connor and Trevor think Washington is going to go all in with an impressive offer and make the Chicago Bears tell them no for the number one overall pick and Caleb Williams. And that's something I've been mentioning all offseason, that you have to at least shoot your shot to Chicago. Shoot your load and see where it goes. Throw that shit at the wall and see if something sticks. Here is our best offer. Take it or leave it. If not, we like Jaden or Drake May at number 2. But just to make the situation smoother for you, he is saying the right things. Caleb said, I'll play for Chicago. I'll play for another team. If another team trades for me, I'll play for anybody, because his focus on the league is he wants to be a great. He wants to be an immortal. He said, as the saying goes, legends live on. That's my goal of playing football. It's not money. It's not fame. It's to be immortal. I want to be one of the greats. If that's in Chicago, so be it. If another team trades for me there. And he said, Washington, yeah, it's a familiar situation, so he'll be comfortable there too. But Caleb is who he is. His father is who he is, and they're handling the draft process however they see fit. And regardless of if you like it or not, he's in a different position than every other prospect that has ever entered the draft. This is the consensus number one overall pick coming in after already becoming a superstar in college, has a Heisman to his name, and has made around $12 million in his college career. So technically, if he really wanted to flex leverage and flex clout, he could say Ryan Poles, Chicago. Y'all don't want to look crazy in the light or look like y'all got strong armed by a 21, 22-year-old quarterback. Y'all can just deal me and we can keep this on the low because we know for real, I don't want to be in Chicago. I don't want to be here. Y'all ownership situation is going to be looming. Y'all got one of the lowest paid owners in the league. Y'all have a coaching staff that is widely projected to be ousted in a year, and we're going to be working on a head coaching staff and offense number 2. It's just not a situation that I want to be a part of. Meanwhile, Washington, fuck the hometown aspect. Everybody keeps linking them here because of the hometown aspect. Fuck the hometown aspect. Let's look at it from a football standpoint. I'm Caleb Williams. I'm Carl Williams. I'm looking at situations. Washington just hired a new GM and a new head coach, new coaching staff, new front office, put them all on the exact same timeline, and everything is symmetrical. The synergy adds up in DC. That situation looks 1,000 times better than the uncertainty that is the Chicago Bears. So I totally get the rationale if Washington really does feel this way. And they said, based on the chatter and the talk around Indy, is Washington is preparing to submit an offer for the number 1 pick, and a impressive offer. And they want to be told from the Chicago Bears, no. Y'all have to tell us no. We're going to pick him so we can move on with our lives and dive even deeper into the Jaden Daniels, Drake Mayfield. And another kicker to this conversation that they mentioned on the podcast is that the market for Justin Fields has been drier than expected. I know Poles came out, stuck his chest out the other day and said, I want to do right by Justin Fields, and we'd like to get him dealt by free agency if we decide that we're going quarterback at number 1. But according to Trevor Sikkema and Connor Rogers, that Justin Fields market been dry as hell. Super dry. It has not been as robust as they expected. And I think other than the reported teams, Atlanta and Pittsburgh, not too many teams are checking in on the Justin Fields situation as of Friday, May 1st, 2024, second day of on-field drills at the Combine. So that adds another layer of nuance to this whole conversation. I'm very intrigued to how this all plays out. This is easily the most exciting and interesting, intriguing offseason I've been a part of as a Washington fan. We're always going to be connected to Caleb Williams up until the moment where the Chicago Bears draft him with the first pick. So this is going to be an interesting storyline to play out over these next few weeks, especially now that Ryan Poles kind of gave a soft deadline on when he's going to make a decision on the quarterback position. But it's lying season. It's rumor season. One day we're hearing from people. Dan Orlovsky saying Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in the draft. JP and Mitch Titchler are saying that Drake May is the consensus QB2 according to everybody in Indianapolis. Everybody has an opinion. Everyone has an agenda, and everybody is trying to control narratives right now. So take it for what it is. I'm not putting any of this as gospel. I'm just reporting it to you as I hear it. I listen to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast every time they drop something because Connor and Trevor, they know ball. And they're plugged in and they're talking to guys. They're interviewing players. They're talking to league officials. They're talking to GMs. They're talking to scouts. They know what they're right in the midst of all this shit right now. So when they say Washington wants to make an offer and they want to be told no by Chicago, I believe them and I'm going to take them at their word because it's what I would do as well. You got to at least check in. Adam Peters told you, even if you don't make the trade, you got to be involved in the conversations because that's how the league works. And you want your name involved in big conversations such as that. And it's very clear. It is 2020 clear as day that Washington is drafting a quarterback with the second overall pick with a slight chance. Connor and Trevor said, don't put it as a 0% chance that Washington slides up to that top spot for Caleb Williams because that's the only player you would do so if you move up that one spot. But let's monitor that going forward. Jaden Daniels, Drake May are at the podium right now speaking in Indianapolis. Caleb speaks at 9 o'clock. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be back with an update on how those presser scrums went with the quarterbacks today. But that's all I got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. Washington trading up to 1. We shall see. Until next time, Commander Rio out.